Now, President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria has ordered ministers and other political appointees to resign if they want to vie for office. Now, this decision has left Nigerians reacting, with presidential aspirant and Minister of State for Education Emeka Nwajiuba resigning from office. Now, more resignations are expected in the days ahead as contenders get separated from the pretenders. Welcome to VSA. I'm Sulaiman. Well, at the moment, Nigeria's Minister of Science and Technology, Obinnaya, has also resigned following President Buhari's order to political appointees to resign from office before contesting. So the list goes on. This comes on the back of many aspirations of political appointees, including ministers of President Buhari. At least 3 ministers, including Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi, Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige, Minister of State for Education Emeka Nwajiuba, Obinnaya, and others have all shown interest. Godswill Akpabio and Timipre Silva have also signified interest in becoming president. The latest decision leaves a lot to unpack. Now, joining me now is Fred Nzeakor. He's a legal practitioner. Good to see you, Fred, and thanks for your time. Now, these at times Nigerians have been waiting. Nigerians have also been asking the question, at what point will the country kick in the Electoral Act, particularly the section that asks people running who are appointees of the president to resign. So what do you make of the decision finally coming from President Buhari?
Many thanks, Sly, for having me, and good evening to their viewers and listeners all over the world. It is something that we have been expecting to hear from Mr. President, to give a marching order to members of his Federal Executive Council who have indicated interest in running for one office or the other. It is not only the prominent ones who are running for presidency. If anyone wants to go to the Senate or want to go for governorship, like the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Obinnaya, and who has indicated interest to run for the governorship of the state, they are expected to resign. It is not only natural, it is not only moral, it is not only ethical, it is also very practicable, that you cannot eat your cake and still have it in your hands. It is expected that if you want to run for an election, you have to resign your position, because you cannot divide yourself into two. No man can act more than he can, because by the time you begin to run around to actualize your ambition for any public office other than the one you are, then the one you are automatically begins to suffer. And we can even see the immediate example in the issue of ASU and the students that are still on ASU that is on strike, and students that are not in school, and they are not receiving attention, essentially because the people who are supposed to give them attention have gotten their attention diverted, and they are now interested in their further ambitions to run for one office or the other. So it is also legal what Mr. President has done, because the court judgment, which I call, with due respect to any listener or viewer, I call mushroom judgment, secured by the Attorney General of the Federation at the Federal High Court in Umuahia, which has, of course, been set aside by the Court of Appeal, was one that sought to undermine the basic tenets of democracy, because a National Assembly has done their bit in amending the Electoral Act and has given us a brand new Electoral Act of 2022, which has been signed by Mr. President. And of course, it went through all the town hall meetings with all the stakeholders making their inputs. So it was embarrassing to officers of Nigerian democracy when the Attorney General went to court on account of Mr. President's request that Section 84, subsection 2 should be struck out from the new statute book. And of course, it didn't go down well with Nigerians, because the very basic ill that section sought to cure will not be cured if eventually it is not allowed to stay. So when the Attorney General went to court to undermine the provision of that section, many people rose against such act of the Attorney General. And we are happy, and there's a huge sigh of relief that Daniel has come to judgment, and the Court of Appeal has set aside that judgment of the Federal High Court in Umuahia.
You know, I'm happy that you've also taken this, you know, stretched it for us, for Nigerians watching and other Africans, because you're citing the instance of the Minister of Labor and that of Education, knowing full well that at the moment in Nigeria, the universities are on strike, and these gentlemen have been so busy with their political aspirations and not being able to, you know, tackle the problem in the education sector. Quickly here, help us here, because this section of the Electoral Act is now the most popular. Section 8412 of the Electoral Act that bars political appointees from vying for office. Now, how constitutional is this? I know you try to, you know, talk about, you know, having your cake, eating your cake and having it, but some other lawyers like yourself have tried to see how this can be, you know, turned around. But how can INEC, as the electoral umpire, you know, come in here?
Well, INEC will, as an electoral umpire, usually in their practice, they usually like to obey the orders of court. And of course, the order or judgment of the Court of Appeal is superior to that of the Federal High Court. So INEC is expected to obey the order and the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which of course means that those who are still political appointees and who have not resigned their offices would automatically not be recognized by INEC. But of course, let me lay this brief foundation as to why that Section 84 sub 2 was even brought in the first instance. Recall that in times past, the experience has been that because of the fact that political appointees were part and parcel of delegates at party primaries, when it gets close to the time of party primaries, the executives, especially the governors, would now appoint several hundreds, in some cases, thousands of people as political appointees, just to make them eligible to be able to vote at the party primaries. And by so doing, the governors have undermined the very essence of granting a level playing field to all aspirants. And that is how the governors will always have their way, by way of anointing their candidates, whether the people like the candidates or not, would win the primaries, because the governors have manipulated the process by appointing several people who eventually will become delegates at the primaries. And of course, they will do the biddings of the governors. And by so doing, it has not allowed our democracy to grow. If it is taken to be a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, the will of the people must prevail at all times, and such will should not be guarded, should be devoid of manipulation, unnecessary manipulation. So that is what Section 84.2 sought to cure, by ensuring that if anybody who incidentally is a political appointee should not be a delegate to party primaries, will not vote and will not be voted for, such that is either you resign your appointment before you go for party primaries, or you retain your appointment and you don't become a delegate to any primary. It was a very good, robust piece of legislation.
You know, let me jump in here. Apologies, Fred. Yeah. Let me jump in here. Now you've been able to expatiate this, and you also just said that is a very good, section in our statutes. But do they have to wait for the presidential directive for this to kick in?
Well, why they had to wait is because the Attorney General went and got an order of Federal High Court that sought to set aside that provision, that good provision, Section 84, subsection 12. So they now wanted to capitalize on that and retain their offices, while at the same time running for elections. So now that that section has been upheld, so to speak, even though the very many reports in the media will not give you a clear indication of what has happened, but the summary of it all is that the Court of Appeal has set aside the judgment, the ex parte order and the judgment of the Federal High Court, thereby giving firmness to that section. And Mr. President has so ordered that if you want to remain in my cabinet, you have an option of either remaining in my cabinet and abandoning your ambition, or you pursue your ambition and you leave the cabinet. So I believe Mr. President has invariably obeyed that order of the Court of Appeal and has also obeyed the moral suasion which Nigerians have been trying to bring into play. Because everything must not be legalistic. Morality, logic, and ethics must always be brought into our political affairs in the country. So if they did not want to resign, I tell you, they only wanted to capitalize on that loophole, which was created by the Attorney General and the Federal High Court. But now that loophole has been plugged, effectively plugged by the judgment and decision and order of the Court of Appeal.
And just some hours ago, Emeka Nwajiuba and Obinnaya have both resigned, from office. What does it mean for the political process?
What it means is that they are no longer members of the Federal Executive Council. Their offices will be replaced by other people from their states, and then they will now be free to pursue their ambition. Both of them have indicated their interest to their aspirations to run for office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They can now go full blast in pursuing their ambition. And what it also means is that those other ones who are still in the cabinet, like Abba Malami himself, who wants to become a governor in his state, Rotimi Amechi, who wants to become a president, and some others, Dr. Chris Ngige, who also is aspiring to become the president. They have only two options: aspire or retain your position. If you continue your aspiration, you go to resign. If you want to retain your position, then you have to forfeit and forgo that aspiration. It's as simple as that.
So simplify it further. Does it mean that for anyone who is maybe hard done by and thinks that, look, I don't think I need to proceed, if they withdraw at this point in time, does this section of the Act also kick in?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I'm talking about some of these appointees who may want to withdraw from the race at this point in time and say, I'll rather stay, in the cabinet than pursue this aspiration. So if they have that, does it also, save their jobs by way of speaking?
Of course, Mr. President gave them that option. If you want to pursue your ambition, you have to resign. If you don't want to continue with your ambition, you make it clear, and then you stay in the cabinet. So it's for them to reflect their loyalty to the Federal Executive Council, their loyalty to the Federal Republic of Nigeria in their capacity as the ministers through Mr. President, and then they will retain their position by telling Mr. President that they prefer to continue with him as ministers or his appointees at all other levels than they prefer that to pursuing their ambition.
So in other words, again, what I'm trying to get here, in other words, a lawyer like yourself can't actually, sue any of these ministers who may say, I would rather stay with the cabinet, because some would say, for the fact that you have expressed your intention to run, and of course have also secured the forms to run in this election, has also activated that fact that you are already, aspiring to run. So it takes you out of the cabinet.
No, I do not think in that line, because the fact that one is serving in a particular cabinet does not mean that one will no longer have an ambition. Now it's a case of choices. It's either you retain this or you retain that. So if anybody goes to court to compel them, what will be the ground for going to court in that regard? That will be an abuse of the court process because the fellow will not have any locus. So you cannot compel a man to take an ambition and sustain it or to drop an ambition. After all, you never compelled him to take up the ambition. He felt within himself that he wanted to run for a particular office, and then having been faced with the choices as have been presented before them, it is also their responsibility and their right to decide to either continue or to resign and go back on that ambition. So I don't think anybody would take them to task in that regard. It is essentially their choice. If Mr. President feels strongly that having exposed themselves with an ambition that they will no longer want to retain them, then it's Mr. President's choice. But I do not think, even in that regard, Mr. President will want to do that. He can only replace them when they have indicated interest to leave his cabinet. And that's why I said earlier that all they need to do is to reassure Mr. President that they have stopped all manner of such ambition that has given them that dilemma, and that they are focused in their assignment, and then they'll continue with their works. And I think that's all that is there to it.
Well, before I let you go, now, some also have argued that the president's directive has also saved the ruling party from some form of future embarrassment.
Yes, the directive we expect, the most important and the most critical one, which we want to believe that the doctrine of covering the grounds would have also covered that, is for the central bank governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, to completely denounce his aspiration and continue his work as the central bank governor, and even with or be sacked if he refuses to resign honorably. So I think the directive given Mr. President should even be more vociferously asserted on the side of the central bank governor, who has exposed his partiality and his partisanship, not only by becoming a member of the ruling APC, but also indicating his interest to run for an office, where at the same time retaining his position as the central bank governor. So I think he also wanted to capitalize on that loophole that existed from Umuahia Federal High Court. But now that the loophole has been plugged, like I said, he has no other option than to apologize to Nigerians for being partisan and then retain his position, or honorably resign, and another central bank governor will be put in place. And
I actually thought I thought that was going to be my last question to you, but I think I want to stay on this. We need some clarity here, because some have also argued that Godwin Emefiele isn't an appointee, but a public servant.
How did he become the governor of Central Bank? He's an appointee of Mr. President. Mr. President forwarded his name to the National Assembly. The National Assembly confirmed him to become the governor of Central Bank. He's an appointee. He is a public servant, serving Nigerian public. The ministers' names were also forwarded, having been appointed by Mr. President. Their names were forwarded to National Assembly for confirmation, the same way that of the governor of Central Bank was forwarded and confirmed. So he is an appointee. He's not an elective office, neither is he a career civil servant. He did not start from the cradle in Central Bank to get to the position of a governor. And as a matter of fact, the position of a governor of Central Bank is not a career one, whereby you are certain to become a governor having worked with Central Bank for a certain number of years. It is an appointive position that is subject to confirmation by the National Assembly before one assumes office. And of course, the experience of Lamido Sanusi has shown that even as a governor of Central Bank, if he goes foul of the expectation of the people in any way, manner, or form, the position can be terminated by the same president that appointed him and be replaced. There has been an argument that the office of the governor of Central Bank is a consolidated one. But that argument has not, in reality, has been cut short by the sacking of the former governor of Central Bank, Lamido Sanusi. So it's yet to be confirmed whether that sacking can be regenerated or whether that sacking can be called an abnormality. But whatever it is, I can tell you that the governor of Central Bank is an appointee. And the argument of who is a public servant beats my imagination. There is a difference between public servant and civil servant. A civil servant is a career public servant. A public servant is anybody who, by way of his work and action, serves the public at any office and at any level. So a public servant is made up of, public service is made up of civil service and political appointees and elected officials. These are the three branches of public service. The civil servant is a career servant who earns his promotion by way of service over the years and whose tenure is capped at 35 years of service or 60 years of age. A political appointee is one who is a public servant by virtue of appointment by the executive, either the governor or the president or the chairman of local government at the three tiers of government. And the elected official is also a public servant because he holds in trust a particular office, having been elected by the people to serve the people. So I do not understand the argument of who is a public servant and who is not a public servant. Anybody who by his works and action in profession and in service serves the public at one level or the other is a public servant.
I think it's a fine place for us to say many thanks for being such a nice company, Fred Nzeakor. I'd like to have you again so that we can talk more about, some legal matters, especially as Nigeria prepares for 2023. Thank you for your time, and Africa appreciates you. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Mohammed Ahmed and Obinnaya Uruakpa, who will be talking about preservation of the African culture. Well, news just reaching us from Nigeria has it that Minister Godswill Akpabio has withdrawn from the presidential race and has so retained his ministerial position. And this follows President Muhammadu Buhari's presidential directive for his ministers who are interested in running for the 2023 presidential election to resign from office. Now, if you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Village Square Africa here on News Central Television, broadcasting live to 54 African countries and beyond. And now, one of Africa's biggest exports is its culture and arts. Now, they tell a tale of a continent diverse in its beauty and rich in its content. Now, the recent years have seen some of the custodians of African culture take the message abroad. They are admired, appreciated, and valued for sharing a beautiful heritage with the rest of the world. Promoting African culture is a continental responsibility influenced by the need to sell arguably the single biggest market. Now, while Africans everywhere in the world are working to extend the reach of the message, some individuals here in Africa are also playing their part in this process. Performing arts is one of the ways this culture is sold and extended, and today on VSA we'll speak with one of the foremost voices on African culture, performance, and what it means to the continent. Joining me now is Ahmed. He's the Artistic Director, National Troupe of Nigeria. and Obinnaya Uruakpa, a policy and economy commentator and entrepreneur, will also join us. Gentlemen, good to have you both on VSA. Quickly, Ahmed, I'm excited having you here because a lot of people will, first of all, want to know a lot about the national troupe. But first, let's start with how significant is the culture to the development of a society, especially a diverse one like Africa? Well, there seemed to be a glitch, and we seem to have lost that connection. I think I need to come to Uruakpa this. Obinnaya, if you're there, and I hope you can hear me, we're talking about, you know, the basic expectations of ordinary citizens, especially in the promotion of these cultures on the continent.
Can you hear me? Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
Just my appearance communicates volumes, if you can see my red cap and what I wear.
And by the way, I love that, and that's why we're on the square today. I love the red cap.
Now, that's my brand right now. There's a principle I stumbled on, Suleiman, about 2 years ago. It's called own your difference. Own your difference. It's your identity. The average Chinese child is instructed in Mandarin.
Oh, another gain.
I have two children. He's 10.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you. I have two children, a daughter, Olako, 13, a son, 10. They struggle to speak Igbo. Now, for me, that's a huge challenge, but something I'm dealing with right now. Now, I'm having to pay teachers to teach them Igbo. Now, we need to understand that our language, our culture, the way we dress, our art forms, our poetry, our dance, the way we do things, identify who we are. As an entrepreneurship coach, I can tell you that it also has implications for income generation. I'll give you an example. Things fall apart. You just mentioned that Village Square streams across 54 African countries. Things fall apart, as at the last count, has been translated into over 50 languages across the world. What did Things Fall Apart do? Things Fall Apart primarily gathered the culture of Africans, specifically the Igbos, and sold it to the world. Chinua Achebe immortalized himself and immortalized Africans. I have had to go back to Things Fall Apart in the past few months to read the Proverbs. Now, you will remember this expression, and it's easy to know where it's from. Proverbs are the palm oil with which Igbos eat their words. It gives you a certain uniqueness. So when you see an African, if you were to get into New York and you saw someone like me on the screen, you don't need to make a connection. So the earlier we begin to be proud of what we have, people will tell you that the firewood in a community cooks food for them. So it's a bit of a challenge when our people don't understand what our culture does for us. Today, by the grace of God, I use African proverbs to teach life and business principles. 20 children born the same year can never play together for 20 years. Suleiman, you've been in the journalism industry, you've worked from one establishment to another. I like the name of the program, Village Square. I'll give you an expression that will shock you. What do you normally see end of year? You see hampers shared at end of the year. What do we share in hampers? Mostly expired biscuits, chocolate, and most of the things that do not have much bearing around Africa. So our team came up with what we call the Village Hamper.
But that's novel. Yes, that's a great one. That's novel.
I'll send it to you to your WhatsApp, and I'll send it to Oga Ahmed. Good to see you, sir. Now, guess what was contained in the Village Hamper? Yam, plantain, fresh, oranges, denkeli, that's Irish potato and sweet potato, gari, and a host of other things. If you go to Smedan today, there's something called the One Local Government, One Product Initiative. Every local government in Nigeria has at least one commodity she has comparative advantage on. Suleiman, if we showcased the dance troops from Plateau State, and we showcased the farm produce from every local government area in Nigeria, and we took it to the Dubai Expo, where I was in 2019 at the Dubai Mall, and I imagined that we showcased from Abia to Zamfara, my brother will not need to borrow from any country. I assure you that hospitality industry is the biggest employer of labor in the world. I challenge you to look at the Airbnb model.
Let's bring in okay, Obinnaya, quickly, let's bring in Ahmed is back again, and quickly, apologies, we lost that connection. We're hoping that we have the strength, on that connection to you, Ahmed. Quickly, let us in here on what, because listening to Obinnaya, what readily comes to mind is the National Troupe. Take us through what the National Troupe is doing at the moment. I recall, back during my NYSC, I had the Abakaliki Troupe in Ebonyi State. They were a delight to behold. Let us in what the National Troupe is doing and how far you've gone with promotion of our African heritage and culture.
Thanks so very much, Suleiman, for bringing me in. I'm very sorry for the initial hiccup. When you mention National Troupe, it's looking at the global picture of Nigeria. National means this is the apex performing arts section of the federal government of Nigeria. We are under the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture as one of its parastatals. And what we do basically, one of the mandates is for us to ensure that we showcase every nature dance step from each of our states and the FCT. That is to say, we have to look at all of our communities, the best of their performing arts in terms of dance, drama, music, and other kinetics to ensure that we bring these together as a national entity. And in every opportunity that we get, whether it is within the country or outside the country, we're able to showcase Nigeria in its best of performing, arts. So that's exactly what National Troupe is doing. However, like you mentioned, over the years, National Troupe has really seen its glory from 1991 when it was established. And Ahmed of blessed memory was the first person who really brought up the National Troupe and was able to really engage artists from all over Nigeria. And brought them up to the National Troupe, and then we had an assemblage of the most, versatile artists that we can be able to have, showcasing our best of dances, across Nigeria and outside the country. As of today, National Troupe, apart from being in every part of Nigeria, we've been to about 38 countries across the globe, showcasing Nigeria's best in performing arts. I'm happy my brother, Obinnaya, has really started, the discussion around what do we bring in terms of the best of our cultures in each of our LGS in terms of our products, and then showcasing that with our dances. In 2021, that was last year, December, we were in Dubai with Mr. President, where we also, projected Nigeria in the best of its dances. We call it Oyoyo. Oyoyo is basically looking at the different, the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria, picking each of the dances from each zones, bringing them together, to show exactly who we are. And I assure you, we have gotten, a global accolade, for what we did. This year in March, we were in Massa. Massa is also another market for performing arts in Côte d'Ivoire, where most blacks from all over the world come together to celebrate, performing arts. And we were there, as National Troupe Nigeria to showcase the best of our country. And I assure you, the ambassador of Nigeria in Côte d'Ivoire was very happy with what we did. And we are now talking to each other to see how we can be able to mobilize Nigerians in Côte d'Ivoire to ensure that we celebrated Nigeria's independence, possibly this year, with them. So National Troupe basically is the apex performing arts, that brings the best of Nigeria's dance, music, drama, to the fore. And we also ensure that from every state of Nigeria, we recruit artists that are the best to bring them to national troupe. And national troupe is also like a capacity building environment, for other creative
Let me jump
minds.
in here, Ahmed, because you said you recruit, artists from, across the country. Because listening to Obinnaya a while ago, he was also talking about, the diversification. Now, help us here. How do you get these people? Because there are areas where there could be, clashes between cultures. Bringing all these artists together. How do you ensure that there is some kind of synergy and unison in their performances?
Thanks very much for asking this very much good question. Right now, even as we speak now, we are doing auditioning for artists from the northern part of Nigeria here in Abuja, and that's today and tomorrow. And from the 24th and 25th of May, we are going to do for those from the southern part of Nigeria in Lagos. The way we do it simply is this. First of all, the policy of government says that when you are going to do any recruitment, you must ensure that you advertise that in different papers of Nigeria across the country, so that every part of Nigeria could be able to, every person who is in every part of Nigeria could be able to also see that advert, and if they're interested, they can apply. So that's the first thing we did. We're able to advertise this on our daily newspapers, one from the south and one from the north. We are also able to put the advert on our social media handles, because we have a lot of followership in our social media handles. And then some of the people who are also following us were able to also disseminate this information. And then we also work with the state ministries of culture and tourism. Sometimes they are boards, we call them art councils. We also send them letters to say, distribute this information to every nook and corner of your state to ensure that there is equity, that artists from every part of the local government and the communities can be able to also access this information and then apply. And I'm happy to tell you that today, some of the states were able to, organize their own artists from their own states to bring them up to Abuja for them to participate in this kind of auditioning. So basically what we do is ensuring that we use both the traditional media, and then now we're talking about the social media, and then also, send in letters, across to all the states to ensure that every state is in the picture of what is happening, and then they can be able to also facilitate.
Okay, let me bring in Obinnaya here. Obinnaya, listening to Ahmed, the troupe is amazing that they've gone to about 38 countries and counting. And, off the top of my head, listening to you talk about the number of, languages that things fall apart by the great Chinua Achebe has been translated into over 50 countries. What readily comes to mind is looking at what comes to the continent in terms of money. So help us here, Obinnaya. How can culture help promote the economy?
I think for itself, my brother, I just want you to imagine, I had a meeting with Ostaz Fuad Adeyemi some time ago. Himself, myself, Mojima Konjuela were having a discussion. And he went for pilgrimage from Nigeria as at 4 years ago. And I said, no. I said about 7,600 persons. India mobilized about 260,000 persons before COVID-19. Now look at what I'm wearing, Suleiman, and what Alhaji Ahmed is wearing. If each of those persons that went on pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia dressed the way I'm dressed and took along 10 pieces of clothing, or like the video you're showing, the attire that the thief attire that is here, or the Doma attire, or the Yoruba attire, or the Hausa attire, and appeared in the Indian platoon or camp in Saudi Arabia, and convinced the Indians to dress the way they are dressed. My people will tell you that the eyes eat first before the mouth will eat. The eyes will eat first before the mouth will eat. Doing a business without advertising it is like winking at a girl in the dark. Only you know what you're doing, no one else does. So for us as Africans, yeah, that's true. You're doing marketing and nobody knows what you're doing. In the digital world, Kiyosaki said, if the phone you are carrying does not make you money, throw it away. So I want you to imagine that the person that went on pilgrimage dressed in adire, in akwete, in the Hausa, in the tie and dye, the batik cloth, and appeared in Saudi Arabia. And were noted for that unique dressing. Over time, some of the Indians, the Pakistanis, the persons from across the world, the Bangladeshis, over 1 billion people, Indians, over 1.2 billion people, Chinese, 1.4 billion people. Let's just take 0.01% of those persons appearing at the pilgrimage, whether in Saudi Arabia or in Israel. Our people become our marketing epistle, walking the streets, dressed in our attire. If each of them collected the contacts of these persons and brought them back here, I want you to imagine, Suleiman, how many tailors will be engaged? How many seamstresses will be working? My brother, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing called unemployment in Nigeria.
Well, we bring in Ahmed here. I think you're spot on because we've actually seen people, some Nigerians will say when they go out and they're dressed in their African attire, people reach out to them and ask questions of how they can also, get such fabrics and even designs. Let's talk more about National Troupe. I come back to Ahmed. How often does the National Troupe touch base with the many cultures to tell Nigerians and Africans about them and get people exposed to them?
I would say that, as an agency of government, we are also funded by government 100%. And basically, we use our resources that is available to us, to be able to, ensure that for every activity we have, we can be able to ensure that we touch at least the 6 zones of Nigeria using the limited resources we have. But what we are doing at present is that we are trying to see that we work beyond government resources, because we know that government also has resources today. And we have a great potential to engage with the diverse terrain of Nigeria. So at present, what we did was to come up with proposals, and engage other interested stakeholders. I'm talking about agencies, either of government or maybe private sector, to see the need for them to also work with us and then promote, culture. When we're talking about culture, we're talking about peace, unity, harmony, just like Obinnaya is talking about. We're also talking about our commerce. That's what we're talking about. So today, like I'm discussing with you, we have developed a proposal and we're reaching out to Nexim Bank. I've already talked to the MD, and we have written a proposal that looks at, issues of peace in Nigeria, and then the way we could be able to utilize peace to bring about commerce and improvement in business environment, for people to come into Nigeria and do business, and for us to also go out of the country and do business and take our own ways out of the country. We're also reaching out to other development partners like UNICEF. UNICEF is working with children, and we felt in the Northeast, where we have this insurgency, there is a need for us to ensure that we take back out of school children back to school, because education is one key factor that can be able to help us, live in peace. We're talking to also the Development Commission to ensure that also happens. So we're just looking at us as, cultural dancers or traditional dancers. No, we are also a developmental entity. We're using our cultural pattern to ensure that we engage developmental organizations to also do developmental work that can be able to bring peace to Nigeria and also bring a lot of prosperity. So what we're doing today is ensuring that other resources beyond government resources are also invested in National Troupe to ensure that we expand the horizon, of our.
Do you have anything with the Nigerian movie industry?
We have started developing some kind of understanding with movie practitioners in Nigeria. Currently, there are some movie makers who engage us, and they're also looking at our costumes to use in their own movie. They're also looking at our dances, where we can be able to also ensure that, while they have dances, we can be able to bring a lot of dance pattern to factor into that. We are also looking at messages. It's not just about dances. just like Obinnaya is now bringing a lot of, adage, some proverbs, in that discussion. How do we use those adages and proverbs of Africa to tell our stories, to also sell our wares? Do you get the point? So we are also working with some of these entities to ensure that they utilize those kind of, messages, to sell in their own movies, so that we can be able to really promote Africa from our own perspective, not from any other person's our worldview. And then we're also doing that with Kannywood. Recently, we developed a very big project that is called Nigeria First. It's our own robust program that is going to ensure that the Kannywood, Nollywood, and even the music industry are involved, where we felt there is a need for us to ensure that we send a message of Nigerianness to Nigerians, so that everybody will know that there has to be a country for you to aspire to want to go to. So that's exactly one of our strategies that we wanted to utilize to ensure that we also use culture in peace building in Nigeria. So yes, we're engaging Kannywood, we're also engaging Hollywood, and then the music industry, in that direction.
Yeah, we coast in home, and I would like to hear from Obinnaya, who's also, giving us a very, practical example of what he's going through in his home. And I'm quite sure for a lot of Africans that I've spoken to on this program, they also share the same, concern, and talking about the eroding cultural, essence from our younger generations. Now, help us here, Obinnaya. What's the future of cultural representation in Africa? Well, I think we're having a bit of challenge getting to Obinnaya to help us with that. But quickly here, Ahmed, help us now look at...
There's a bright future for it if we decide, like Mahatma Gandhi said, we have decided to do...
Go ahead, I can hear you now all of a sudden.
You.
Yeah, I can.
I can hear you. Okay, so we're using African proverbs to teach life and business principles to children. So for instance, say 20 children born the same year can never play together for 20 years. What does that mean to a child that is 6? Remember that a child's personality is formed by the age of 6. 90% of a child's personality is formed by the age of 6. Catch them young. So we teach them dance, we teach them proverbs. So I want someone like Oga Ahmed or Suleiman to be like Tales by Moonlight. They use proverbs to teach these children. So if you're in diaspora, can you teach your language to your children abroad in New York or in London? And it's a very simple thing. For instance, when you tell a child that bowing down to greet an elder does not break you, it's a Yoruba proverb.
And again, I think we seem to be having another glitch. I'm hoping that, let's close with you, Ahmed. And I'm hoping that once you're back in Lagos, you should do a live, visit so that we can talk more about African culture. But as we close here, let us in on the responses of the public so far about the national troupe.
Well, I would say so far so good. The national troupe had its own glory period, and then over time, certain things happened, and then it went down. When I was appointed last year by Mr. President, and I was mandated by my minister, Mohammed, to ensure that we rekindle enthusiasm in Nigerians, on the national troupe, as the apex performing arts of Nigeria. What we started doing was to ensure that we started engaging proactively both in social media and also reaching out to some of our stakeholders to ensure that to ensure we really sell the information that we are still around. And national troupe is still mandated to carry out its assignment, and we are doing our best to do that. And I assure you, within the last 1 year that I am with the national troupe, we've been to 2 countries. Like I said, we've been to Dubai, we've been to Cote d'Ivoire. And we've been to Bauchi, Northeast, to do Children's Creative Station. We're in Abeokuta, Children's Creative Station. And we came up with a very good musical performance. It's called musical drama performance. It's called Strange, that tells Nigeria's history from independence from pre-colonial time to independence. That's called Stretch. It was staged in Lagos twice, and it was also staged here in Abuja. We are also reaching out to other stakeholders to ensure that we have some resources to go to the 6 geopolitical zones. The intention basically is to show that the national truth is still strong, and it's also very much alive to its responsibility, in ensuring that we engage, every part of Nigeria in that direction. And from the social media feedback we are getting, from our audiences, I tell you that the national truth is really getting back to its glory days.
Well, Ahmed, Mohammed, many thanks for your time. Thanks for being such a nice company. Ahmed Mohammed is the artistic director, Nigeria's national troupe, and of course, Obinnaya Uruakpa. I'd like to see you again, Obinnaya, so that we can talk more about those proverbs. And of course, I would like to also thank our first guest, Fred Nzeakor, legal practitioner, who's been able to unwrap for us that section in Nigeria's Electoral Act 8412. It's a wrap on the show. I'm Sulaiman. Thank you, Africa, for watching.